So the hype around Reed Sheppard has been just absolutely everywhere in the past couple months, especially since his performance in Las Vegas during the Summer League. We begin today with a picture of Reed Sheppard and his mustache. I am just saying he must be going to the same barber as one Travis Kelce. Now, we know Travis Kelce is significantly taller and larger, and while Sheppard's mustache is not nearly as full as Travis is, it certainly is an interesting attempt at facial hair. Now, we are not going to talk about that as much as we are going to talk about Reed Sheppard possibly becoming one of the NBA's next superstars. If you will, is Reed Sheppard an NBA superstar to be? That is the question on the NBA Rundown today. Hey, listen, if you are new to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe. And of course, like this video. Listen, every like and subscription certainly helps the channel out, and it is greatly appreciated. Now, I want to spend a little bit of time talking about Reed Sheppard today, as well as the Houston Rockets as a whole. Now, we know that the Houston Rockets, and I'm pulling up the stats right now, back in 22-23, won just 22 games. Now, they improved significantly last season, ended up with a 41-41 record. During the draft, they actually ended up taking Reed Sheppard with the number 3 pick. Now, after his Las Vegas Summer League performance, a survey went out to all of the general managers in the National Basketball Association, and 50% of the general managers actually said that they believed Reed Sheppard would actually be the Rookie of the Year. In fact, a lot of general managers ultimately believed he probably should have gone number 1 in the draft this year. Now, Reed Sheppard comes from some humbling beginnings. If you think about where he was literally 24 months ago when ESPN put out its early NBA draft class, Sheppard didn't even make the list. Look, at the end of the day, to go from where he went to what he did at Kentucky last season, where he actually ended up shooting 52% from the three-point arc. We saw what Sheppard actually did in the Las Vegas Summer League, and I have to say, after seeing that, I absolutely agree with the general managers in the National Basketball Association that Reed Sheppard certainly could be this year's Rookie of the Year. Now, there is one minor problem with all of that, and that is actually Reed Sheppard actually getting enough playing minutes. Now, as I mentioned, this Houston Rockets team is vastly improved over where it was 2 years ago. Last season, it actually ended up with a 41-41 record. Now, head coach Ime Udoka is, a master of the mind, so to speak. Now, he grew up in his coaching career under, of course, Greg Popovich, and he certainly has proven over the years that he's not afraid to tell superstars what he really thinks. And he's certainly not afraid to actually do that in the media as well. Last season, he had enough with Jalen Green and finally went ahead and benched him. After he benched him, we know that Alpren Sengun actually ended up just flat out delivering, if you will, all-star-like performances. He finished the season, this is Sengun, finished the season 21-9-5, and I think everybody who watches him now sees him and looks at him and thinks, Baby Jokic. He's a baby Joker. He is a fantastic player, and he wouldn't actually be where he's at this point if Udoka had not made the moves that he made last season. Speaking of Jalen Green, once he actually came off of the bench, once he got reinserted into the starting lineup back in late February, he actually ended up with 25 points a game, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists per game. And the team, the team actually went 16-8. Look, I'm pulling up the depth chart right now of this Houston Rockets team, and it is not an exaggeration to say that this Houston Rockets team could absolutely find itself not just in the play-in, but maybe actually in a 5th or 6th spot heading into the playoffs next season, assuming everybody actually stays healthy. Jabari Smith Jr., Sengun, Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, Jalen Green, and now Reed Sheppard, and of course, Amen Thompson from last season's NBA draft. Look, at the end of the day, while I think Reed Sheppard is going to be an absolutely great basketball player, my biggest concern around Rookie of the Year for Reed this year is actually going to be playing time. Now, if for some reason Jalen Green falls back to the old Jalen Green, which I seriously doubt will actually happen because Jalen Green is without a contract heading into next season, I fully anticipate that Jalen Green is going to do everything that he can possibly do to keep himself in the starting lineup. If you will, he will conform to what Udoka actually wants him to do. So the question for Reed Sheppard is simply going to be about getting enough playing minutes to actually win Rookie of the Year. Now, we know that Fred VanVleet's a great basketball player. Assuming he's fully healthy this year, it could be difficult for Reed in this actual rotation to actually get more than 20 minutes a game. And I think in order to actually win the Rookie of the Year, you'd have to average somewhere between 25 and 30 minutes a game. Now, don't get me wrong. I think eventually Reed Sheppard is going to be the best three-point shooter in the National Basketball Association. Will it happen this year? I think the only way it actually happens this year is if there's some major injury and he actually gets thrown into the mix and gets more minutes, as I pointed out. But just from a sheer talent perspective, it is amazing how great Reed Sheppard really is. I went back and I watched some of the Las Vegas Summer League ball earlier in the day, and I'm just super impressed every time I see Reed Sheppard play. He has, if you will, a complete game, and I think he will eventually turn into one of the bright stars in the National Basketball Association. In terms of the Houston Rockets, well, they are actually in an unbelievably great spot from a contract perspective. From contracts, I should say. I mean, they're sitting there with $165 million against the salary cap right now. They're in a perfect position. If they wanted to do something, they could certainly go out and make some moves before the trading deadline. And they're only on the hook next season for $126 million, which gives them a lot of flexibility. Now, the key with this Houston Rockets team will be Jalen Green continuing to progress, doing what he did from late February last season. If he does that, I think the Houston Rockets are absolutely a team to watch in this upcoming season. All right. So those are my thoughts on Reed Sheppard and the Houston Rockets. Once again, it's going to take a certain amount of playing minutes for Reed Sheppard to actually win the Rookie of the Year. Assuming he gets enough minutes, I think he is your foregone conclusion in terms of who's actually going to win this year's Rookie of the Year. All right, that's all I've got for you today. Once again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe and, of course, like this video. For the NBA Rundown, I am Dave DeBaugh, wishing you all a tremendous rest of your sports viewing day. To the cool new music we go.
This is Phoenix.